is up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of the Dense Pixels podcast. I am your host, Brad, joined by my co-host, Micah.
Hey.
Terrence and Carrie both have other obligations tonight. So we are going to talk about a lot of news this past week, especially about comings and goings of, very high-profile personnel and the return soon, or maybe not so soon, of a fallen champion, but not really a champion. We'll talk about it later on in the show. I've been playing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I was waiting for this game to get fixed on the Switch. Of course, when the Switch version came out, it was a broken, buggy, shitty, poor-performing mess. Apparently, it took them 6 months to fix it, but fix it they have. The game now runs pretty well. Obviously, it's not going to be as high resolution as the PS4, Xbox One, and PC versions of the game are. But it's funny because the character models in the game look identical to me, or look very close. I've seen side-by-side gameplay footage. The only difference is the higher res versions have more detailed foregrounds and backgrounds, because all of those are pre-rendered in the game. So I've been playing it. For those not aware, Bloodstained is the spiritual sequel of sorts to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. It is very much that game, for all intents and purposes. Now, you'll have to forgive me, because I've never actually sat down and spent really any time with Symphony of the Night, ever. Didn't play it when it came out. Missed any of the reissues and things of that nature that came out. Was Symphony of the Night heavy in, RPG elements? Like, did you gain character levels and stats and things of that nature as you went?
It had, from what I can remember, it had slight RPG elements, but nothing as intense as Bloodstained. Bloodstained is, that's a different animal. Mm-hmm. Like, you could switch weapons and, different weapons had different properties and stuff like that, but no, it was nothing like Bloodstained. Okay. Bloodstained is very much we use the term spiritual successor a lot, but no, this is it.
Right, and very much an evolution of those gameplay systems. So as Mike was alluding to, there's tons of different weapons that all play very differently through the gameplay that you'll acquire as you go, including like short swords, long swords, pikes, whips, morning stars, kung fu boots, basically, that you can use to kick your enemies to death, daggers, guns, all sorts of stuff to kind of give you a gameplay style that suits you. And then, of course, the big gameplay mechanic in the game is that you get these shards from defeating enemies that give you special powers. Sometimes they're attacks, sometimes they're passive buffs, sometimes they're like familiars that you can summon that follow you around, and things of that nature as well. Again, if you've played Symphony of the Night or any of the posts, or any of the like Metroidvania style Castlevania games, you'll feel right at home with this gameplay. It feels very reminiscent of that. Lots of branching paths through a sprawling giant castle with many ornate rooms that makes you wonder where the funding for this castle is coming from, but I guess it comes from hell in the game, so they don't, they've got a lot of money down in hell to build really finely furnished and well-decorated castles. This story is whatever. Like, we're not here for the story. We're here for the gameplay. We're here for the boss battles, the new abilities and stuff like that. I'm a few hours in so far. I've completed nearly 30% of the map. I fought, I think, 3 bosses to this point, if I'm not mistaken. I'm really having a good time. The gameplay is fun. It's challenging, especially if you've never played Symphony of the Night, as I have not. I found that I can't like I went in playing it like almost like a side-scrolling hack and slash game, and you really can't do that. You have to be a little bit more deft in your gameplay. You have to use the back dodge that the character has. You have to play a little bit more defensively, or you're just gonna get slaughtered constantly.
Yeah, you are gonna die in that game, and you're gonna die a lot.
And it's very old school in that when you die, you go back to your last save point, basically. And if you made several rooms progress since then, you're going to have to do all that shit over again, like it or not. You're very limited in supplies that you can carry with you. You can't just, stock up like crazy on potions. I think you're maxed to like 9 of each individual item that you're allowed to carry. There's different potions you can carry as well. But yeah, so it's a bit more challenging than I was anticipating it being. But that has not deterred me. The music, as you would expect, is excellent. Very catchy themes. Again, they harken back to the games that Bloodstained was based off of. It's a really good time. And if you were waiting for the Switch version to get good, the load times are a little long in sections sometimes, but for the most part, the game, I haven't seen any issues in terms of performance. I know when the game first came out, there was a lot of frame rate issues, especially in certain sections of the game and certain boss battles. Like the frame rate would collapse down to like 15, 20 frames, make it nearly unplayable, that kind of stuff. There are some resolution issues, but I have not seen any of that so far. So yeah, if you've been waiting and you're waiting for the Switch version to get fixed, it is now. I would definitely recommend going to check out Bloodstained, and it's a very good game. So
good. I'll have to update it then.
Yes, you should.
I haven't touched that game in a very long time.
Yes, you should, for sure. Couple games coming out new this week, unless you have something new that you've been playing in the past week.
Playing anything? I don't think I've been playing anything. I told you about Star Wars last week,
right?
And I'll play something that we'll talk about later. But no, I don't think I've played anything. I'm looking forward to one of the games you're going to talk about on this list.
I know. Actually, I know what it's going to be.
A couple of different games.
I know what both of them are going to be. So, or possibly all three if you're feeling some kind of way. So yeah, new releases this week. Dreams finally comes out to PS4. It's been in closed beta, open beta, early access, late access. I don't know. Like it's been in all sorts of different states. It's finally coming out to retail. Since they've had it available in different pre-release states up until this point, there's going to be a ton of different content that you can check out. I'm kind of over the whole media molecule thing at this point. Played the first 2 Little Big Planets, did like them. I don't have a level designing bone in my body. That's not where my creative output steers me. It steers me instead being a talking head, talking to you people constantly. And making YouTube content. So like Dreams, not really something that I'm going to get into from the creative aspect. But I'm sure there are many people that are excited that it's finally coming out.
I played those first 2 Little Big Planets, and I had dreams of making these like complicated levels and all that. And I'm like, yo, this is hard work.
Yeah.
and this is the coloring book version of level design, right? Like this is the easy version of it. Like I can't imagine.
Well, Mario Maker is the easy version of it. Like Mario Maker is very much the kind of Lego version of making video game levels.
I made one side-scrolling level, and it looked terrible, but it was all about like different stunts and like Indiana Jones. Like, what if Indiana Jones and Prince of Persia like had a baby, right? And there was like a mine cart, and there was this thing where I had to swing over a lava gap or whatever, and I was so proud of it. Now that I think back on it, I'm like, yo, this is terrible.
Well, and again, you probably poured like 8 hours of work into that, 8 to 10 hours of work into that level.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that kind of time to spend on that sort of thing.
right. Like,
so Darksiders Genesis comes out to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is the 2D Darksiders game that's coming out, correct?
It's like a twin stick, like not twin stick. It's kind of like a Diablo.
Oh, it's an isometric view game. Okay.
Yeah. It's a Diablo clone, and this is one of the games that I'm going to pick up. I'm very curious about it, and early reviews from the PC version are really good, and I've seen a couple videos. The banter between War and who knows what character this is, Strife. Maybe, I don't know. They're very. It seems very funny because The guy with the guns is like the wacky guy, and War is the straight man.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the odd couple running around hell. And I always wanted to get into this series. I never could.
It's had an interesting premise, but the gameplay has just been a little below standard, and they've not been able to decide on kind of a theme for that series. The first two games were very Legend of Zelda-esque. The second,
not Legend of Zelda-esque.
The first one was a Legend of Zelda clone in many ways. The second one, the gameplay steered a little bit closer to like a DMC. The third one, from what I understand, is more like a Souls game than anything else. And now you have this, which is, like I said, a Diablo clone in many ways. So very interesting.
It's being developed by Airship Syndicate, and they have done. They developed this game called Battle Chasers Night War, and
which you talked about on the show before, which you liked.
Yeah, and I really like that game. So I'm like, all right, well, I like that game. I'll give this game a shot.
Okay. Street Fighter V Champions Edition releases on PS4 and PC. This is one that I have to get at some point too, because I'm behind on my Street Fighter content. So this will catch me up.
I mean, this is the one to get, right?
It is.
This is literally everything except for the items that you get from the Capcom Pro Tour. Because all those proceeds go towards funding the tour, so they're not going to give those away. But you get 40 characters. You get like 800 costumes, 700 of which are Chun-Li. And you get like a ton of stages. And if you have it now, or if you pre-order it or whatever, you already have all of this stuff. The only thing that you're going to unlock is Seth. But yeah, you should get back into it because I'm really curious. When was the last time you played it?
Oh, it's been like played it for real or just noodled around?
Have you tried the second V skills for people yet?
No, not really. Not really.
Okay. So that really breathes new life into characters. Like Guile is my main, right? And he has a V skill that it's a forward jumping sonic boom. That's just kind of angled down. And it's just another way to put pressure on people using a charge character. It's really cool. So, I'm very curious to hear your take on Street Fighter. If you pick this up,
I will. I am interested now because I'd imagine that Ken's is probably very different because his V skill was just like a dash ahead, not very fun. Right. So
his was just pressure. Like I'm going to run at you. Like all right, well,
so that'll be interesting. The Yakuza Remastered Collection comes to PS4. This is 3, 4, and 5, correct? Remastered for the PS3.
I know it's 3. I know it's 5. I hope it's 4. If it's 4, then I need to download that now.
I think it's a $40 set. So
yeah, I mean I bought it a long time ago. Like I bought it when the first game was available. When the game first came out, and they were like, "Okay, you bought this. Thanks. The other 2 games are going to be in your." Basically, it's an IOU, so you'll be able to download these games for free.
Okay.
So I'm curious now. I know I downloaded 3, and I know I downloaded 5. So 4's got to be in there, right? One of them it takes place in like feudal Japan, which is kind of weird.
Okay, weird.
But look, if you've never played the Yakuza series, and you like adventure games, you should play Yakuza 0. It's $20. It usually is available on some sort of sale, and it's really good. The Yakuza series took over where Shenmue abandoned me, and I really like that game series. And I've only played 0, 1, and 2, so I'm curious.
You can play 6
to see what these other ones are like, and 6, yes.
Okay, I was about to say. We also have Glass Masquerade 2 Illusions, Michael, is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Tricks what whores do for money. And then Florence comes to the Switch and the PC as well. So those are your big new release highlights for this week.
I don't have a transition from Florence to the ad read, so check out youtube.com/densepixels and subscribe. Go to densepixels.com/premium if you want like super good content, right? Like we give you the free stuff, and the free stuff is really good, but the super good is from densepixels.com/premium. You see how I said that with a straight face, so that you have to believe me. And you won't get that reference
until you listen to the full version to Look Forward this week.
For $5 a month or $50 a year, you get access to our premium slate of podcasts, including the airing of grievances, which Jay says is coming back. I don't believe him. No Time to Bleed. The Men with the Golden Tongues, the Iron Man of the Premium Network, and full episodes of the Look Forward Political Podcast featuring Jay, Andy, and on some occasions, Brad.
It has to be said that our review, Micah and my review of the fantastic Mission Impossible Rogue Nation just released on the premium channel as well. Just this past week on The Men with the Golden Tongues, movie that we like quite a bit that you should listen to, because we dive into just how amazingly crazy Tom Cruise is. And he's crazy.
That guy is like super, like he's movie star Jesus, man. Like he's gonna die for our sins, for our movie sins. Subscribe to all TNP shows wherever you get your podcasts. You could subscribe to such shows as the Nerdpocalypse, the flagship show of this little operation that we have. Black on Black Cinema, which recently reviewed the Oscar award-winning film Green Book, which was not a movie that I thought deserved it. Coming Distractions, our contemporary movie review show. They just reviewed Birds of Prey and the Emancipation Proclamation of One Harley Quinn. And you get the weekly preview episodes of Look Forward. Now, the preview episodes of Look Forward are good. Mm-hmm. They're really good. But they get super good after the hour mark. And in order to hear that, you got to subscribe to Premium.
That's true. I told Micah the other day that the most disappointed I've ever been in my entire life was when I was flipping channels the other day. AMC said that they were airing Mission Impossible 2, and I was very excited. And I flipped over to AMC, and instead it was actually Mission Impossible 3. I've never been more devastated by anything in my entire life. It made me incredibly sad. And I was faked out too, because the scene that I came up on was during the Impossible mission. So all I saw was a large, fancy high, like not futuristic, but like modern, contemporary looking corporate office building. And I said, "Oh, he must be going to get the Chimera virus." No, he's getting ready to jump and land from a tall height onto a glass sloping roof that he will then shoot down and murk two Chinese dudes with pinpoint accuracy as he's sliding very quickly down this slanted rooftop.
If you're ever flipping channels and you come across a Mission Impossible movie, but you're not quite sure which one it is, all you have to do is pay attention to Ethan Hunt's hair.
That's true. Yeah, and that's where I was miffed at first, because when they showed when they panned around and zoomed into Tom Cruise standing on the building, I was like, why is his hair short? This is Mission Impossible 2, when he had the long flowing mane that I'm accustomed to. And then I realized what had happened, and I was sad. So some news that we missed last week. but it's pretty big news. Rockstar Games co-founder Dan Houser, one of the Houser brothers, and also the lead writer on most of Rockstar's projects since their inception back in 1998, is leaving Take-Two Interactive. He left Take-Two back in the spring of 2019 on an extended break, and he's decided he's just not coming back. So Dan Houser is decided to move on. Sam Houser, his brother, has said that he's not going anywhere. It's interesting, this departure. Now, Dan Houser and his brother have run Rockstar for over 20 years at this point. They've become, one of the 3 biggest game developers on the planet, you'd have to say, making the most successful game, or one of the 3 most successful games of all time in GTA 5, to say nothing of the rest of the GTA series. He's probably a very wealthy man at this point, one would have to imagine.
Yeah.
But what do you think about this news, Micah? One of the founding members of Rockstar hitting the road.
Look, good for him. If he wants to call it a career, that's fine. I'm very curious where the Grand Theft Auto series is going to go, and how his departure, if his departure is going to change anything.
I'd have to imagine it's probably not going to have a dramatic effect on GTA 6, because I'd have to imagine that much of the production of GTA 6 in terms of crafting the story and the world have been done on that game for some time.
Yeah. Yeah, because I keep forgetting GTA 5 came out last generation.
Right, GTA 5 literally came out. It came out technically before last generation. It came out 2 months before the PS4 and Xbox One consoles released.
Yeah. Jesus.
So
that thing is still making a ton of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you make one game every generation and it makes like money like this, I don't know, that's wild, man. That's wild. Yeah, I'm just curious as to the direction of the future, of the creative direction of the future of these franchises, especially Grand Theft Auto, because for a long time I've been wanting different sandboxes to play in Grand Theft Auto. I want, I would love a European-based Grand Theft Auto, and make it like a Guy Ritchie movie or something. You know what I mean? Take it back to London or something like that. London is a perfect sandbox to make that type of game, given the terrain, and there's a big river going right through it. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious to see what his departure means for the GTA series.
What's funny is that we probably won't hear anything anyway, because like the Housers are like the Howard Hughes of the video game industry. like they rarely give interviews. The Rockstar is completely like a tight-lipped company. Like I said, just very interesting that this happened though. Doesn't seem like there's any bad terms coming out of it. Like it's not, I'm sure he's just kind of like, I feel like I've done all I can accomplish and time to move on and try something else. Whatever that is, or just sit on a beach with your riches, just enjoy a life of hard work paying off for you. So, but there you go. The EVO 2020 fighting game lineup has been announced. There's some surprises and a surprise omission, in my opinion. So here's the full lineup of games that are going to be appearing at EVO 2020 this year. So you have Dragon Ball FighterZ, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which I have no idea what that game is, but apparently it's popular in Japan.
It's an Arc Systems Works game that is described as an anime game for Street Fighter players.
Okay.
It is. It still has the Arc Systems, weak, medium, light, medium, heavy, and special like buttons and stuff, but it's slower and it's a little more footsie based.
Okay.
It still has the ridiculous super moves, and there's a wrestler in the game,
Mm-hmm.
and his super move is amazing. Like his super move involves a pinfall. A pinfall that if the super move doesn't kill,
Mm-hmm.
the other person will kick out right before 3. It's amazing.
That's pretty funny.
I don't know if I kind of want it, but I don't.
Is it even
know if I
available
have to.
locally, or would you have to get an import copy?
So if you did get an import copy,
Mhm.
it's in English.
Interesting.
Like, it's
Okay.
dubbed and everything, but it's supposed to come out next month.
Gotcha. So it'll give you plenty of time to check it out before Evo drops.
Right.
You also have Samurai Showdown, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, of course, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Tekken 7, and then Under Night in Birth, XE, late whatever Japanese fucking nonsense name that you have for that game. And also there's going to be a special invitational tournament featuring Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to celebrate the game's 20th anniversary. 8 players, including 4 former Evo champions for the game, are going to take part in a small tournament for MVC2, which should be pretty cool to watch. And I'll probably make time to tune in for that since it seems like it's going to be a pretty short tournament anyway. Missing from the lineup is Mortal Kombat 11, which is not coming back after being at the show last year. And it's going to be the first time since 2011 when Mortal Kombat 9 came out, that we're not going to have an NRS fighting game at Evo, which is a bit of a surprise, I think.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. The NRS community, the community is just, they're weird. But they have been doing their own like pro tour.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're just content with that. I don't know if there's like a buy-in or something that comes with getting into Evo. But yeah, I'm not. Part of me isn't terribly surprised by this, especially since they're doing the Marvel versus Capcom thing. Somebody's got to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can make an argument that Under Night in Birth EX late could go, but
yeah, but that isn't that your like your Guilty Gear fighting game that you have?
Well,
every year?
that's where Grant Blue comes in.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So, plus from what I understand, that game is actually really good. Like I haven't played it, but Under Night is, from a couple people that I've heard from, it's really good. So,
okay.
Quite frankly, I'm okay with not having Mortal Kombat in it. Mortal Kombat is not an exciting game to watch.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you on there. At least it's just surprising that, arguably, unless you count Smash Brothers, the most successful fighting game from a standpoint of sales in the U.S. is not going to be represented at the biggest fighting game tournament of the year. But I mean, your points are well taken, though. I think you're probably correct in what you're saying. So, Evo will be on July 31st through August 2nd at its usual home of the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. I like the Mandalay Bay. It's a nice hotel. So
I've never been. I'm not a big shot.
I didn't have to pay to go there. So
I know, because you're a big shot.
Yeah. Not anymore. Now I'm no longer a big shot. So just a normal dude nowadays. What are you going to do? Arguably more surprising news than the Dan Houser departure. So Rod Ferguson is leaving the coalition. He led the team for Gears 5. He's been with the Gears of War franchise for an incredibly long time. But he's making a very high-profile change. He's going to Blizzard, and he's going to be overseeing the Diablo franchise.
Wow.
Which is I guess you'd have to consider that a promotion, would you not? in many ways, or a step up?
I would. I would. Gears is not the game it used to be. And it's Diablo, yo. like, come on, man. But okay, all right. Rod Ferguson was kind of instrumental in making the Gears series kind of grow up a bit. Gears under Cliff Bleszinski was Predator, right? and when he came along, you can tell there was a very distinct change, in the way characters were represented, in the way the simple fact that women could be Gears, And I saw some story where Bleszinski was like, he co-signed someone's tweet about Gears suffering from get woke, go broke syndrome. And it just, like, that guy hasn't changed, man.
But meanwhile, he is waiting by the phone now for the call from the coalition to come back home, I guess,
Oh, he absolutely is. Who's this Kate chick? Get her out of here. Let her be the new Anya. Let's get these dudes back in here. Goddamn sexual tyrannosauruses.
Yeah, like he's doing the thing where I'm sure his followers are asking him if he's interested, but no one from the industry has made it, brought out there. But he's kind of putting his name out there, like, I can't say I wouldn't go back to work on Gears, but they got to call me first, and I'm not enjoying what I'm doing right now, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like
the boss key
flag. Well, not anymore, not boss key. So like I said, I found that news to be incredibly interesting. I don't know what impact Rod Ferguson's going to have on Diablo 4. We're not sure how far in development the game is. But it'll be interesting to see what, if anything, his influence will lend to the project. So there you go. The Outer Worlds, we talked about it last week. It's coming to Nintendo Switch. It was supposed to come out March 6th. Well, it's been delayed thanks to the coronavirus. Virtuous, the developer working on the port, is based in Singapore, which is one of the regions that's being most afflicted by the health scare that's going on around the world right now. The private division did say that everyone at Virtuous is okay, but the office is remaining closed while the outbreak is going on. However, they did, so this is going to delay the game indefinitely. We're not sure when it's going to come out. However, they did say that the retail version of the game, which originally was just going to have a download code inside of it, is now going to ship with a physical cartridge, which I would imagine is still going to require some kind of a download, because a lot of those games tend to when they're larger. But bad news. Glad everyone's okay. And you guys just have to wait a little bit longer for your Outer Worlds on Nintendo Switch. We talked about before that Sony purchased Insomniac Games a few months back, which made sense. I mean, Insomniac Games was very much like a second party studio for a long time for Sony, of course, famous for the Ratchet and Clank series, the Resistance series, the most recent Spider-Man game, their most popular game that they ever came out with. We found out now that Sony paid $229 million to acquire the studio, mostly in a cash payment. So if you've been working at Insomniac, congratulations for the windfall that you received a couple of months ago. Holy shit. That's a lot of fucking money.
In cash, yo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly cash. I mean, look, you sell a game, you make a game that sells 13 million copies, What do you expect to happen?
I mean, goodness gracious, man. Like, they're Sony operating like a bunch of hoodlum gangsters.
Yeah. So look, if you go hang out with Ted Price, beers are on him forever, because that dude's probably rich as shit after this. Good Lord. For context, Electronic Arts acquired Respawn in 2017 for $315 million, with an additional $140 million bonus being possible, which, considering the success of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, is probably headed Respawn's way as well.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Insomniac, even though, it happened several months ago. That's a lot of fucking money. Good Lord.
It is. Now, I always wonder, like, $229 million, right? Like, couldn't throw an extra million in there just to make it a round number.
I mean, look, if you're spending 229, what is another $1 million?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just an odd number.
Maybe there's a reason then it's 229 million. Maybe Insomniac, maybe Sony was like 230 and Insomniac was like, no, 229 for this reason.
No, because 230 will put me in a different tax bracket. So I don't want that.
Actually, you laugh. I wouldn't be surprised at all if there were tax reasons behind the reason why. That's funny. Last news story this week before we talk about the main topic. So the Division 2, we haven't heard much from in a while. The game came out with a flurry, but kind of fell off pretty quickly. Didn't really have a long tail. I don't think that the player base for it is very big. Well, Ubisoft's hoping to change that with the paid expansion that's coming out in March called Warlords of New York. They had briefly discussed this, but we now got details on it. That's going to have new narrative content, going to have major gameplay changes, including changes to the balancing in the PvP Dark Zone. They're going to be changing the game's UI and crafting systems. They're bumping the level cap for the first time since the game came out almost a year ago. They're adding what Ubisoft is calling, but has not detailed, an infinite progression system, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. They're going to have month-long events for 3 months. That'll have new targets for players to hunt down, unique rewards. So what they're kind of hoping for is that this is going to be the Taken King for Division 2, the thing that brings back lapsed players and gets a whole slew of new players to check out the game that did not check it out before. And if you needed any more incentive to get in the door, apparently the game is on sale on PlayStation Network for $3 right now. So if you were waiting on Division 2, and again, people are probably shocked about that, and I was definitely shocked when I saw it. But then when you sit back and think about it, look, they've sold all the copies of Division 2 for $60 or even $40 that they're ever going to sell.
Yeah.
The way the key here is to make the expansion popular. Frankly, I'm surprised they didn't go to PlayStation and make it just the PlayStation Plus game for February. That would have been or March even. You could do it next month, and that way you get people in the door. And if they like the game, now they're going to buy your, I'm assuming, $40 paid expansion.
Yeah.
So
I pulled the trigger. I'll get $3. I've spent money on worse games.
I thought about it because, again, even if I don't play it, who gives a shit? It's $3. It's less than a cup of coffee. So.
Right. Like it's $3. So I'll play it. And my brother-in-law is a huge Division fan, right? Like as much as you played Destiny, that's how much he played Division. And, he would go online and look at different streams of people, and he played so much that he qualified to be in the alpha to test the Division 2. And he loves the Division. And he hates the Division 2 now. Like he said, they really, really messed that game up, and everything is everything that some of this you got to take with a grain of salt because he's an Uber fan, right? So when he complains about things getting nerfed, right, that might just be his favorite weapons getting nerfed, and he's just mad. But yeah, he was highly upset with the way the Division 2 turned out. So I'm curious. I'll have to call him to see if he's interested in coming back. He probably will. He's addicted. He's got that.
You just got to give him a reason. That's all.
Yeah, he's got that battered wife syndrome. That I have with Capcom games. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'll check it out. It's $3. Whatever.
Right. And
if I don't like it, when I don't like it, I won't feel that bad.
Yeah, you can $3 worth of play out of that for sure.
Yeah.
You do have to be max level in order to play the new content when it does come out, but they are of course going to have a level 30 booster that you can get. in order to jump right into it. So, but yeah, that's the news for the week that was.
Go to densepixels.com/Amazon. When you go to www.densepixels.com/Amazon, you'll be helping us out. You see, every purchase that you make by going to www.densepixels.com/Amazon, we get a little bit of a kickback. It's not much. It's not much. So buy a lot and buy often. By going to www.densepixels.com/Amazon.
Micah, Anthem is dead. Long live Anthem. So the BioWare blog, Casey Hudson put a post up yesterday, and this is a post that a lot of folks have been waiting to hear. This post should have happened 6 months ago. Let's be fucking frank. Where he talks about the game, talks about the being proud of the work that the team has done, but at the same time acknowledging that the game as it is a letdown. Talks about how the team's worked really hard the past year. If you can believe, Anthem's almost been out for a year, which is insane to me.
Wow.
I know. they worked really hard to improve the stability, the performance, the general quality of life of the game, while delivering multiple seasons of new content and features for the game. And from what I understand, the technical glitches that plagued the game when it first came out have been taken care of. Like, the game runs well, it's stable. You're not going to run into those problems. However, he does acknowledge that the game needs a more satisfying loot experience, better long-term progression, or any long-term progression, really, and a more fulfilling endgame. So there's a lot of more fundamental work that needs to be done. So he has said that over the coming months, and I'm quoting now, we will be focusing on a longer-term redesign of the experience, specifically working to reinvent the core gameplay loop and clear goals, motivating challenges, and progression with meaningful rewards, while preserving the fun of flying and fighting in a vast science fantasy setting. And to do that properly, we'll be doing something we'd like to have done more of the first time around, giving a focus team the time to test and iterate, focusing on gameplay first. So Casey says that they're going to be running the current version of Anthem. They're not going to take the game down while they're doing this, but they are going to move away from doing full seasonal events and in sort of a reboot of Anthem, essentially. There's no timetable being given. There's no, lead time being given. I would imagine this is still going to take quite a bit of time to get to the fabled Anthem 2.0 that everybody wants the game to get to. But the acknowledgement, I guess, is a good first start. So, Micah, what do you think about the news that Anthem is finally going to go get its shit together?
I think you're right. I think this post should have happened 6 months ago, and we should kind of be here by now.
Right.
They should be preparing the actual, reboot, reimagining or whatever. But look, I when that game first came out, I enjoyed it. The feeling of flying is very, very good. And I think they focused all their time into that. The story didn't grab me as much as I thought it would. I finished it, but it didn't grab me as much as I thought it would, which is surprising for a BioWare game, from the guy who did Mass Effect, I want this to be really good. I really do. Do I think it will? I don't know. I'm leaning towards no, because when it's not good, then I won't feel as bad. And if it is good, then I'll feel great. But this is a long time coming.
It is. And again, I'll say, you guys that listen to the show for a long time know that I was really excited for Anthem when it came out. And look, I enjoyed myself for a good 3 weeks to a month after that game released. The gameplay content that was there was fun. I thought the story was fine. It kind of opened the door to a new world that they were trying to construct. I enjoyed the interactions with the different side characters and things like that. And I thought that was really well done in sort of the Mass Effect vein. But once you kind of blew through that content, there wasn't a whole lot else to do in the game. And so I didn't stick with it long term because there was no carrot at all to dangle in front of me. So this is very exciting news. Again, we all knew that it was going to get to this point. It was just a matter of time, how long it would take, and would EA allow it to happen. EA seems pretty committed to BioWare at this point. They have just made a shitload of money from Star Wars, so I'm pretty sure that financially they're not stressing too badly right now. And it seems like they're going to give the team at BioWare the time to complete the game that they probably should have had when the game first came out. Now, of course, as we learned, from Jason Schreier last year, that was a lot of problems of their own making in many ways, BioWare's, for various reasons. I would hope they've learned that lesson at this point, that they can't rush these things, that BioWare magic, aka crippling crunch to get a game out, is probably not the path you want to go down. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table because they made a lot of mistakes when Anthem first released. But the benefit to making those mistakes is that now you know what mistakes not to make again. I think they know that you can't just give people 3 different guns in each class of weapon and that's going to be enough. I think that they realize that masterworks, and legendary weapons need to be attainable and special, but without being game breaking. And some of the stuff that they did well, the customization aspect of your javelin, that stuff was good, and they can keep that stuff. I think they realized that having an open world with the same cycle of 8 public events that you can kind of switch between, and not really having any end game content. Like you have strikes, essentially, like you had a handful of strikes that you could do, or strike equivalents. That stuff gets old after a while. The Cataclysm, I think people were hoping for more of a raid-like activity when it came out. And the Cataclysm was fine by all accounts, but it wasn't, I think, what people were expecting it to be, or the dramatic change that people were expecting it to be. And the open world just needs to be meaningful. It was just a playground to fly around in. By the time we got to the game, I think they can do more with that. So again, I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Now that they have the game, the gameplay kind of smoothed out, not buggy, not glitchy, and now they can focus on the systems a lot more. So I of course will give them the benefit of the doubt. I will be back when the game comes out, and hopefully they will make it so that I will stay whenever Anthem 2.0 happens. So,
yeah, well said. It's I wouldn't be honest if I didn't. Terrence isn't here, but you mentioned that now they have learned from them. They should have learned from their mistakes. But Terrence would stop you in the middle of your sentence and say they already had a blueprint with Destiny.
Right.
What do you say to that? Do you think that that's a fair argument, or was Anthem? Do you think Anthem was being developed in parallel with Destiny?
I think that once we learned what we learned, by that expose that came out 6 months ago, I don't think that you can hang parallels or non-parallel. Because again, the argument that I made when the game first came out was they weren't trying to just be another Destiny. You know what I mean? They were trying to do something different. And apparently they were just trying to do something because they had 18 months basically to develop the game, the final product that came out. So I think that plays into a lot of it. But again, now they've had time to kind of sit back, see what things worked really well, know what things did not work really well, and kind of have a better idea of what they want the game to be. So again, I don't think they need to worry about making it Destiny, third person version of Destiny. They can now make the thing that they want to make, but it just has to be fleshed out. There has to be more there. And again, like the counterpoint to that is Division 2 was a very fleshed out game at launch, and it was probably the most robust game of its ilk on launch day that existed to that point. But what happened with that? They couldn't keep the momentum going. They couldn't they couldn't give people a reason to stay. So, and again, I said it before when we talked about Anthem earlier last year, and I'll say it again, it took Destiny a solid 2 years to kind of figure that out as well in their own right when they first released. So, and again, I think if I'll also put words in Terrence's mouth and say that the obvious comparison here is No Man's Sky, which has completely turned around what that game is in a few years' time. Different situation, small indie studio compared to a major third-party studio, AAA studio. But you can reinvent what your game is.
Yeah.
And people will be back if it's good. And I think people do ultimately want this game to be successful. I think that EA is starting to massage their image in the public eye a little bit, or at least they're doing it through their developers, with Jedi Fallen Order, with the changes that were made to Battlefront 2 to make it much more consumer friendly, things of that nature. So we'll see what happens though. Like I said, we're still like you said, we're still probably a pretty good ways away from seeing the fruits of that labor. Yeah. At this point.
Yeah. It'll be a minute.
It will be a minute. But you know what? Before we hop off of this, that lends its own set of problems. What if this takes 6 months to get there? Now you're in August, September. You got Cyberpunk coming out shortly thereafter. You have Avengers coming out shortly thereafter. You have new game consoles coming out shortly thereafter. I don't know if that's where you want to be or not.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, I didn't really think about that. Yeah. We are on the cusp of a new generation of consoles.
Right, and what could be the greatest game of this generation of consoles releasing right at the tail end.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see for sure. But that is it for this episode this week. No post office this week. I'm getting used to my new workflow schedule, so I skimped on that, and Carrie was not here this week, so she didn't post it either. But again, make sure you follow our Facebook group, densepixels.com/fans. When we do ask the post office, that's where the questions get asked, where you can ask them right in there. We answer them on the podcast. Again, follow us on social media at densepixels. Subscribe to this show and all the other TNT shows wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/densepixels. Follow Terrence on Twitch, Apparition410. Follow Carrie on Twitch, Suppets Carrie. That is it for us this week. Thank you guys very much for watching and listening. We will catch you all the next time.
See ya.
You're watching the Dense Pixels YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button while you're here, and make sure you check out our weekly podcast where we discuss the latest gaming news and our impressions on what games we've been playing.